In this episode, we're going to talk about executing commands. Now, when you type a command and press enter, the work that happens in the background can be a little bit different, and it's often good to understand that background work which is happening. So in this episode, we're going to talk about 3 different sources for commands inside your Linux system. The first one is aliases. Aliases are user-defined shortcuts for commands, executed first before the actual command. So think of an alias such as, anything that is user-generated. So you can have an alias called docs, which is going to execute a certain command to maybe list you or find out the size of your documents folder. Now, that command to do that might be long, so you can define using an alias a long and complex command into a simple alias that you can type in order to really simplify the complexity of certain commands and utilities into simple user-defined aliases. And then the second type of command is internal, which is actually built in and part of the shell. It doesn't actually load that command script anywhere installed on the disk, so it's not defined as a user command, and it's not an executable file, meaning it's not actually some script that is going to execute and do some task. It's built into the shell. So comparatively, although you and I might not notice it, between internal and external commands take just a little bit longer to load into memory and execute, whereas internal commands are built into the shell. So this is an example of how to set up an alias or a user-defined command. You simply define the alias, in this case it's LL, and have it equal to some command that you don't want to type again and again. So you can see this entire command here, ls-l with a -- color option equal to auto, is all shortened down into a very simple LL. So whenever you type LL, what's happening in the background is this actual longer command being executed as an alias-defined command. Now, sometimes you might want to know what type of command you are executing. So you can use the command type followed by the command name to find out if this command is internal, built into the shell. If it's external, hey, you can find the script for the command and where it's installed on your server. And a list or also if the command that you are going to use is an alias to some system-defined or user-defined command. So to summarize this episode, we're going to talk about how to create your own alias commands and how to find out if the command that you're using is actually loading from the disk or part of the shell. Stay tuned in the lab where we show you a practical understanding of the concepts. Hi, in this episode, we're going to be discussing various sources of your commands. When you type a command into the terminal, there are 3 different locations where this command is sourced from. Now, what I mean by that, let's go ahead and show you. I'm going to open up the activities node at the top and go ahead and open up our terminal. And here we will complete our discussion. Now think of a command like ping, for example. If I type ping google.com, of course, there is something that happens and this gives us the output. But did you ever think about where the script for the ping command actually is? How does my computer know that when I type ping, what actions to actually take? Well, that is all about where commands are stored. Now, let's take a look at the command called type. Now, type will let you know where a command actually is and what type of command it actually is. So when I type ping, you can see that, hey, this command resides in the USR bin folder. This is hashed here. So that lets me know that this command is actually installed in this location. Now let's type this for another command. Type ls, and you can see that ls is actually aliased. Now alias is another type of command. So there are, in fact, 3 types of commands. One are commands which are actually just part of the shell itself. Let's type pwd. You can see pwd is a shell built-in command. It's actually part of the shell that I'm using. Whereas the command ping is installed as part of some program or some utility, and it's installed on the system at this location. And finally, we have alias. An alias is a user-defined command. So ls doesn't actually do anything, but this command here. So I can create aliases as well. I can type alias, and I can say new command is equal to, and type some command that will define my alias. So here I can say, something simple, ping google.com, and that is equal to my alias now, new command. Let's just call it Google, which is the name of my which is the name of my alias. But what Google is doing, when I type Google, what it's actually doing is executing this this command here. So alias can be very helpful. So here you're going to see when I type Google, it's actually going to run this ping google.com command, right? Instead of it saying, hey, I don't know, Google is not a command. I've actually made it equal to a command by setting an alias. To remove the alias, you can just say unalias and the alias name to remove the alias. Now, it's going back to the regular behavior where Google is not actually a command. All right? So all in all, there are 3 types of commands. There are commands which are built into the shell, and then there are commands which are installed as part of different utilities and programs. And finally, there are alias commands, which are commands that you set yourself. And this can be extremely helpful because often you don't always want to type out long and complicated commands with, difficult spelling and difficult arguments and names, where you can set an alias to simplify your work. So I hope you've learned something here in how commands are actually looked at within the shell and the 3 types of commands that you're generally using within the command line shell. Thank you for joining me here, and I'll see you in the next one.